Welcome to the New Chemist podcast. We're glad you're listening. Feel free to download this podcast on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Here on the New Chemist, we discuss chemistry, which simply put is the science of change, as well as careers, community, research, and COVID-19. We're happy you're tuning in. My guest today is Joe Dickman. Thanks for joining me today. It is so good to hear from you. Just briefly, I'll inform my audience about you. Joe Dickman is a good colleague and friend of mine. We attended Taylor University together. He currently is attending University of Wisconsin-Madison Medical School. We did research together under Dr. Daniel King, and he is an intelligent young man. It is so good to have him as a guest today on this podcast. Please welcome Joe Dickman. Thanks, Joe, for joining me today. It's good to have you here.
Hey, thanks so much. It's good to be here.
Yeah, dude, definitely. Joe is a good colleague of mine from Taylor University, so it's always a pleasure to have him on as a guest. So, what have been your long-standing interest in the field of science?
Long-standing? I remember telling my second grade teacher that I wanted to be a scientist when I was when I was in second grade. It's so interesting to think about what got me interested in science, as a career. And in some ways, I know that medicine isn't exactly science. It's not maybe chemistry, but there's a lot of science, I think in medicine. I would say that, especially, we really want to go back to the beginning, in second grade. When I told my second grade teacher what I wanted, to be when I grew up, and I told her I wanted to be a scientist, I think the image I had in my mind was, a guy in a lab coat mixing test tubes together, and then there being explosions.
Okay, cool. Sounds like demo night at Taylor.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so yeah.
I'd be, when I came to Taylor, David, I was a biology chemistry double major,
Okay.
and I quickly realized that I could do just biochemistry, and it would have a lot less classes required.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another thing. Although there are parts of biology I really like, as far as being part of the chemistry department, I think I watched demo day my freshman year. Of course, they didn't let the freshmen do the demos. Mm-hmm. And I watched, Dr. Kroll blow up those hydrogen balloons, and I think I knew pretty much right then and there that was going to be the department I wanted to be associated with.
Okay,
ones that were blowing up.
Yeah, dude, that's cool. So, given all the challenges that you probably have faced, how do you maintain view of the bigger picture in your career and in your life in general? How do you see the forest for the trees?
That's such a great question. And David, when in any sort of higher education, and I think that medicine, especially in the United States, can maybe even more than most. But I think it really applies anywhere. There's a danger, I think, in looking at just the step you're on. And it's so funny. In Hoosiers, have you ever seen that movie, the basketball movie? You should really watch it, David.
Yeah, definitely.
It's sort of it's an Indiana movie. Actually, my mom was an extra in that movie, if you can believe it was filmed.
Okay.
It's about basketball. It's about the smallest school. So actually, up until 2000, the early 2000s, the Indiana State basketball tournament was open to all schools. So there were no divisions, is what I mean to say. So there was no D1 school or Division A is what we call them in Wisconsin. Big schools didn't compete against big schools. Big schools could compete against much smaller schools.
All right.
So in Hoosiers, it's about the smallest school. They had like 100 kids who won the state tournament against schools that were much bigger.
Okay.
Actually, if you remember Ron, the guy at Taylor who he would swipe the cards at the lunch line.
Yeah, I think so.
Sometimes he was a little grumpy, but actually he went to Muncie Central High School. He was the one who played Milan High School. That would be the little high school in that movie. And in real life, that the Wikipedia article called the Milan High School State Basketball Run.
So you were saying?
Yes. Anyway, in that movie, the coach says, in tournament play, there's a tradition. We only look at one step at a time, and you always focus on just winning that one step. You know what I'm saying? You focus on beating the team. And you don't think about who you'll be playing until after you've beaten, the team that you're immediately going to be playing.
Yeah, true.
And I think that if you think about, your career, especially your educational career, like that, it can get pretty discouraging. And the way I think I've been more blessed than most to have a physician father and a physician grandfather. I think the best way to keep my eyes on the goal, and not get bogged down into thinking about it step by step, is to sort of look at their practice.
Yeah, dude, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
You go home and he's got his schedule, and you know what life is like for him. And certainly, your privilege is sort of the same way. I know your dad's a pediatrician. Yeah, that's right. Back in the family islands in Bahamas. And so, I'm sure when you go home, it's sort of the same thing. You talk with him about how the practice is going, and that sort of reminds you what you've got your eyes set on.
Yeah.
Right now, I've got graduate from medical school, and before that, 2 years ago, it was get into medical school, graduate Taylor.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have it would be so discouraging to just be thinking about those littler steps, although they're actually pretty big, when you're right in them.
Yeah, I know.
And think about the main goal, which in the case of Hoosiers, win the state tournament, instead of the littler battle of just win that one game, which of course is important in its own right, but you always got to have your eyes set on that big picture.
Yeah, I agree. That's good. So, how did you seek or find the right environment for you to thrive scientifically and intellectually? Why did you choose Taylor? That's in other words, why did you choose Taylor, and why did you choose Medical College of Wisconsin, or the Medical College at Wisconsin-Madison, or whatever it's called?
Yeah. I'm a University of Wisconsin School of Medicine and Public Health.
Okay.
That's their big thing. They're so proud they've got the public health in there. But anyway, to the main question here, what brought me to Taylor, and as far as what got me interested in medicine specifically, I talked about what got me interested in science. My second grade teacher, Mrs. Zimmerman. I would say for medicine specifically, it'd probably be my dad. Is probably my biggest, inspiration as far as that career goal. But how did I attract people? It hasn't just been him, obviously, in my educational career. Even in high school, I was really blessed with a lot of teachers that I thought really fostered a love of learning, and while they didn't maybe teach me medicine, I think they taught me how to learn, and that's obviously important.
Yeah.
As far as Taylor is concerned, I heard about Taylor because my parents met at Taylor. Both of them are Taylor grads.
Okay, same with my parents.
My dad graduated with Kevin Diller and Dr. Mike Hammond, the provost of Taylor, who's the current provost of Taylor right now. And they graduated in 93.
Okay.
So I'd say that's sort of what brought me to Taylor. Was a desire to sort of follow in my dad's footsteps. I knew Taylor treated him pretty well, and he got into medical school, going to Taylor, so I figured that would be good for me as well.
Yeah, that's true.
And David, we didn't know each other my freshman year because I think you were at Georgia Tech. Is that where you were?
Yeah. That's where I was.
But if in some ways that's almost a blessing, because I really feel like I wasn't I wasn't doing that well, spiritually or maybe even mentally my freshman year.
Oh wow.
and it was sort of a struggle for me. I really miss my parents. I'm sure you can identify. Your parents are in the Bahamas. Well, mine were in Wisconsin, so they're not even that far away comparably, but they're still like a 7 or 8 hour drive.
Yeah,
I didn't get to see them throughout the school year,
Mm-hmm.
so it was pretty hard on me. Just feeling a little homesick.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing really that kept me at Taylor, there was really a few things, but one of them was Dr. Majors. He taught the freshman labs at Taylor, and he really instilled in me a love of chemistry, and a love specifically of Taylor's chemistry program, and that's what kept me there. And of course, after I got through that first year, I really ended up liking it quite a bit. And I got to, what was that?
What caused the change? What caused the change from you not liking it to liking it?
Well, for one thing, my then girlfriend, now wife, came to Taylor. So that helped.
Okay, that's fair.
That definitely helped.
Okay, that's fair.
And I got right with God in a lot of ways, I think, after that. So that certainly helped as well.
Okay.
And also, I got put in classes with other great professors. You've taken organic chemistry with Dr. Leroy Kroll, but also taking analytical chemistry with Dr. King was huge. And even into my junior year, I really have got only good things to say for all of the professors there at the chemistry department. And as far as what I think contributed to me staying, it would really be, I thought their instruction was just so high quality, and also I thought that my peers there were great. David, I really have to say it was great getting to know you, people like Hannah Ewing, Erica Mitchell, Andrew Carter. All of you guys really helped me a lot when I was there. So yeah, I guess I don't know. I feel like God just blessed me. I don't really feel like I earned or sought you guys out. In some ways, you guys sought me out. So thank you for that.
Yeah, dude. I completely agree with you. Yeah, for me, I don't claim perfection in any way, shape, or form, and I make my share a bit of mistakes. So I don't think I've earned. Some things, but I'm grateful for what I do have, and I'm grateful for the people I've met. So yeah, dude, definitely. I share the same sentiment. I'm grateful for knowing y'all at Taylor, and yeah, it was a good time. So why did you choose University of Wisconsin Madison for medical school?
Well, for one thing, they were one of only 2 schools to accept me, and another thing is that there, as much as I love Taylor, and I really did, David, it really blessed me in so many ways, and thank you, because you were a part of it. But I was looking to get a little bit closer to home, and Madison is only an hour drive from my my house.
That must be nice.
It is very nice. And actually, I'm sitting in my parents' house right now. The huge map in the background is their map.
Okay, cool. Yeah, man. So, Joe, how do you maintain a balanced life given all your responsibilities and accomplishments as a medical student, as someone who graduated from Taylor, all these accomplishments and your responsibilities now as someone who's going to eventually have a family? How are you maintaining balance, or trying to maintain balance, I should say?
Yeah. Well, David, it's been pretty hard to maintain balance. Medical school is pretty demanding, even more demanding than I think I was anticipating.
Yeah.
My wife is a great resource for me for maintaining balance. In the era of COVID, we both sort of work from home. Most of my lectures are online, and she sort of works remote. And we share an office, so it's really good having a conversational partner throughout the day. If I want to talk to someone, I got someone right there.
Yeah.
It's great. On the weekends, I guess it's hard not to be able to go out maybe as much as we could have without the pandemic going on. But having that person there, we watch movies together. She's a great conversationalist. So I think that's really how.
Very good. So, Joe, what would you say has contributed most to your success as a student?
My wife and my teachers.
Okay.
Especially right now, medical school is pretty expensive in the United States, and because I'm married to just a great wife, I get the privilege of sort of being a parasite on her financially. So she pays for my my room and board and my medical expenses.
Okay, Joe. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, dude, definitely family and our professional community does help.
Yeah, and she's that social support I was talking about,
Yeah, dude, you need that.
Yeah, absolutely. And my teachers too. I couldn't ask for better teachers at Taylor and at UW-Madison.
Yeah, dude. For me, my social support comes from different areas. I don't know. For me, my social support during this time has come from me going to church, as well as interacting with some of the Christian people on campus, and talking to my family from home, and then a few people from the cohort. But that's about it. Yeah. Yep. So, how do you maintain vision and teamwork in your environment?
That's a really good question, David, and I'm not sure that I'm doing that creative a job. But in my defense, I think it's pretty hard to do a good job in this era of COVID.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, Joe. I agree. I completely agree. Yeah.
I know that healthcare and medicine is a team sport, and I wish I could involve my fellow medical students a little bit more, but we're not really supposed to meet outside of very specific circumstances. So I really don't know how well I meet that ideal. But I think I got room to improve, and when we're all vaccinated, hopefully that'll change.
Okay, dude, that's fine. That's completely fine. Joe, I respect that you're being like your normal self. You're being completely honest and upfront, which is something I respect. So, why did you choose biochemistry as a field to major in? You spoke about how you were interested in biology and chemistry, but was there something specific or any particular topic of interest that caused you to choose that as a major?
Well, I've already talked about how the explosions on demo day
were those are always good.
I really don't. The other reason is so much lamer, but I really was enjoying. I talked about how my freshman year was hard, and it really was. One thing though that I'm blessed to say it was not really academically that bad for me.
Okay.
Or at least, it was a college class. So at the collegiate level, classes are challenging, but and they were challenging for me, but I enjoyed academic success in it. And I thought to myself, if I can perform pretty well in these classes, I might as well cultivate that. So, the explosions and the fact that I was enjoying some academic success in there as well, I seemed to have a knack for it.
Yeah, that's good. So, as we conclude, do you have any advice for those wanting to pursue the field you are currently studying in?
Yeah, we talked about the tournament play and how I think the best advice actually, David, is sort of related to that answer. I think the best thing you can do is to not get locked down into just thinking about the step you're on. You've got to keep your eye on the main goal. So if medicine is what you want to study, and yes, you have to think strategically. How can I get to medical school? And you have to think, how can I win the game? The littler game right now to contribute to that main goal. 2 years ago it was, how can I get into medical school? How can I get my bachelor's degree? That type of thing, and working towards that. But at the same time, never losing sight of the fact that smaller goal is contributing to the larger goal of being an attending physician. So I think that's probably the thing. My best advice is try to keep your eye on the prize there. And I know not everyone is blessed with a physician parents to help them sort of keep your eye on the prize. I think my goal to you would be find some kind of physician mentor. For me, it was my dad, and it's super easy for me. I'm sorry it's not easy for everyone. Find a physician mentor, spend time with them, in the summer or when you're home. That way you can really help you keep your eye on the prize.
Yeah,
Every single person in medical school that I have met and talked to a lot about this, not all of them have parents as physicians. Actually, very few of them do. All of them have got physician mentors that they look up to.
Yeah.
Find a physician mentor. If medicine's your goal, find a physician mentor. Talk with them, spend time with them, shadow them. There can be great resources in so many ways.
Yeah, I agree. Dude, I agree on so many levels because, for me, even when it's challenging in graduate school, knowing having parents who completed graduate school, it does provide context for me, and it allows me to put my challenges in a context and understand that if they could do it, then I could do it as well. And then also, keeping your eyes on the prize, that, even from me, both you and I have the same faith tradition. So even in our faith, one of the things that we are taught is, fix your eyes on what you believe and who you believe in. So yeah, dude, that's definitely a good thing. So what has been some of the most beneficial advice you have received?
What was that, David?
What has been some of the most beneficial advice you have received?
This is a quote from a book, but my wife has told me this before. The quote goes something like, "Things are rarely as bad as they seem." And I for me personally, I can be prone to being a little bit of a pessimistic thinker, especially in regards to my career. I don't know if you could tell us, but in college, I was always afraid that I was going to get to medical school, or it was going to be a big struggle for me. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah.
And my wife gave me that bit of advice. And the quote comes from To Kill a Mockingbird. Atticus says it to Scout. That things are never as bad as they seem. So if you're prone to, like me, sort of doomsday thinking, that can be maybe something that can help lift you out of that.
Okay. Yeah, dude, I agree with that as well, because when you start concentrating on the negative things that are happening, it could lead to a downward spiral. Yeah. So you have to, again, and these are the things that center my thinking and kind of keep me grounded from slipping into like a bunch of other extraneous things. But it says one of the things that we taught in the faith tradition is to be aware of what you're thinking about. Be aware of what you're thinking and how you're thinking. So I completely agree. But Joe, it was definitely good to have you on, and thanks again for joining me.
Thanks for listening. We're glad you were able to tune into this podcast. Once again, this is The New Chemist, where we discuss chemistry, which simply put is the science of change, as well as the other sciences, careers, community, research, and COVID-19. Thanks again for listening. Note, the views on this podcast represent those of my guests and I.
To the R, polar side chains, same GATC. You stick with me, just like glue. Glutamine, asking all the questions. The one-letter abbreviation is Q, from the peptide backbone with a methylene. Then a methylene attaches a carbonyl. Ooh, relax, please be still. Then there's the amine. Asparagine. Listen closely to me, my friend. The one that abbreviation is N with a CH2. Then a carbonyl. Attached, still on the screen, is the amine. Yo, check out tyrosine in your magazine. The one that abbrev is Y. Yeah, that's a catch. Look at what's attached. A methylene, then a phenol, and to that a hydroxyl. Amino acids, polar side chains. See, senor, do you get what I say? Forget that, let's focus on cysteine today with a methylene. And attached is a sulfur hydral. Don't lose focus for you be idle. Yeah, the one I breathe is C. Are you following me? Now let's look at the one for T called threonine. Now you see with the CH attached is a methyl, and to that same CH is a hydroxyl. Yeah, the group attached almost looks similar to an alkoxyl. Talk about a line. Yeah, this is rap and biochem combined. Focus, now we're looking at serine. Attached is a methylene, and then a hydroxyl. The one letter brief is S. Well, I must confess, I'm interested in being a pro, not to be vain, bro, cause we're looking at non-polar side chains. Non-polar side chains. Garvel, protrip, methyphen, glycine, alanine, valine, isoleucine, and proline, tryptophan, methionine, phenylalanine. Can you comprehend? Yo, proline, pro. For even shorter say P, the backbone of this time, you see. There is instead ooh, an NH2 positive, and to that NH2 is a methylene, then a methylene. And just before we close the ring at the peptide backbone is a methylene. Yeah, in alpha helices, this could cause kinks. We talking about the chemical kitchen zinc. Yo, I went to Neverland with Peter Pan. Yo, let's look at tryptophan with a one letter brief W. With pixie dust I flew. I went to Tech Rector Bowl. Attached is a heroic system with peroleum and a benzene ring smacked by it. Forget it. Forget what? Philip fried fish for Friday. The judge was from the Fresh Prince, who was from Philly. Yeah, we're looking at phenylalanine. The one that I breathe is F. Okay. Do you remember Jeffrey? Yo, what's the group that's attached? Just a benzyl group. Yeah, just that. Yo, Dr. Rhyme, hurry up so we can finish in time. Met, guess who I just saw? Stop, let's call it a draw. Methionine with a one letter brief of M. With a methylene, then a methylene. Yo, me done for. And a sulfur. And at the end, a methyl. Yeah, we bust in rhymes like Hansel and Gretel. Bro, take a break. Look at the TV screen. Look at it. It's glycine with the one letter brief, simply G. Attached is a hydrogen. Oh really? Shower. Open sesame, cause I'm Allah. Alanine. We simply say a methyl is attached. Pristine. Okay, it has a one letter brief of A. Wonderful. Excellent. Very good guys and vowels. Valine is very worthwhile with a CH attached and to that same CH2 methyls are attached. With the bond and stick method, it looks like a V is attached simply. Yo, Lewis electron dot structures. We draw a lot. Leucine, yeah. Sing along. The chain has a unique design like my song. With a methylene, then a CH is attached. And attached is two methyls. Yo, similar in bond line to its brovane line, except when we draw the methylene before the V. It's getting very easier, you see. Yeah, let's isolate isoleucine with a CH attached to it. One side is a methyl, and to that same CH on the other side is a methylene, then a methyl. Wow, we cured Ebola, and look, we're finished with the non-polar amino acid side chains. Now let's look at some that are very strange. The electrically charged amino acid. Stall, drum, roll. Yo, don't like to be late. Yeah, aspartate. It is very great. With the one letter brief of D. It's an electrically charged amino acid, you see, with a CH2 attached. And also is a carboxylate. Yeah, that's very great. Come on, let's look at glutamate. With the one letter brief of E. Excellent gregarious. Let's see. Now let's look at what's attached. A methylene, then a methylene, and also a carboxylate. Glutamate and aspartate make an acidic slate. Yo, histidine. Sounds like histamine. The thing that is up when I have a cold. Attached is a methylene and an imidazolium. The one letter breathe is an H. Yeah. Okay. Let's look at one with a one letter brief of K. Lysine. Hooray. Yo, when I get cheap rings, they have cubic zirconium, but when I get the lysine chains attached is a butyl ammonium. So let's look at arginine. R with a one letter brief of R. Bizarre. Yeah, a good name for a rhino with a group attached like a propyl guanidino. With a group attached like a propyl guanidino. Yo, you know what I mean. Acidic chains. Glutamate and aspartate. Basic chains. Histidine, arginine, lysine. Yo, we cannot forget polar amino acids. Zinc, GATC, serine, threonine, glutamine, asparagine, threonine, cysteine, and your non-polar boys, Garville, Protrip, Methyphen. Come on, let's make some noise. These are our favorite toys. Glycine, aline, valine, isoleucine, leucine, proline, tryptophan.